first speaker has a screen name Jay Carson.
All right.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I appreciated the detailed report and the presentation. Thank you so much. So I want to speak to a little bit of good news first. Again, let's just talk about the yellow tier, right? That we're in the yellow tier and that we should be abiding by the expectations and the freedoms that that's going to allow us. Number two, we're hearing consistently from our K-12 schools that they will be returning 5 days a week in person. So, you know, I work in a high school. We are getting ready to go back, and that's going to be part of what's happening for us. Number three, I was really happy to hear that the EOC is still regularly monitoring the updates and sharing those out and modifying. So, for instance, the mask mandate being updated by accepted by San Mateo County. My college kid will be happy to know that he no longer has to wear his mask outside. So I hope that that's being shared with the kids, just like it's being shared with the staff. Number four, also super excited. I was in the IHE guidelines this week looking for updates, and there was a specific update in April of 2021 that spectators for college sports are allowed at the capacity guidelines. So that's out there. And if we are flexible, as we say, then I look forward to our athletes, both indoors and out, being able to have spectators as soon as the next 2 weeks, because their seasons are moving forward. So we can reach out and talk about that and loop in our athletic directors, of course. So I spent several hours on Saturday, reading through every page and every dot of that document. And I'll be honest, part of me felt like I was in a time warp. Like, was I in summer 2020 or summer 2021? Because some of the stuff just didn't seem real. We will be returning to campus and reopening. The question is, are we going to follow or are we going to lead? So I have three specific asks that I'd like as we go forward with this document. One is that we be no more strict than the state and county guidelines. So that should be very clear. Number two, that our language become more flexible and not fixed. So I've heard you say that we're flexible, but the language in there is very fixed. It has numbers. It has very clear where there was not a single reference to the IHE. Yeah, very few references to Cal OSHA. If it's a living document, that let's say we will go with the updated guidelines from the CDPH, et cetera. And number three, that we are allowing unfettered outdoor access to our outdoor spaces and our business services come August 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Rena Korb.
Hi.
Hello, Rena.
Oh, sorry, my video's not on. My name is Rena Korb, and I live in San Mateo, and I have 13-year-olds who are in middle school, but I have been very engaged in the fight to get them back to school for these past few months, and they are back in school, and it's been much better. You know, I took them to get vaccinated today. I've been listening to the community, this board talk, and I just find it perplexing because there's a lot of talk about opening safely, and we know that we can open safely right now. I don't understand why it is okay to keep these young adults from having the full extent of their first years in college experience. You know, the UCs are going back, all the CSUs, the other grades are going back, and these are really the kids, the young adults who go to the community colleges deserve to have the full extent of their experience. For many of these young people, they're going, I mean, obviously, they're going because it's an affordable alternative. Maybe they're going to switch to transfer over to your UC. Not being in person really threatens to disengage them. And I think that you see that in the enrollment numbers. I hardly imagine it's only because people are dropping out because they have to help support their families, though I know that is a thing. But maybe they are not coming to school anymore. They're dropping out because it's not the experience they are getting and the education they're getting is not worth it. So I implore you to think of your role as serving the community and doing what is best for the kids. It's been 14 months since this started. You need to get it together and do what is best for your students because they deserve more than they are getting. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Tina Acree.
All right. We're looking for Tina.
Whoa, here we go. Hello, board and faculty, members of the community. I'm the AFSCME business agent, and I will say I'm going to start off with I am incredibly angry and frustrated with this presentation and how it has gone. Labor has been excluded from the EOC until the last two meetings, and then told when they showed up that they did not have a voice, that you were just there to listen. The stakeholders have been excluded from this process, from the policy group, and you've created this presentation tonight to slam on us so we could go into impact bargaining. And it's a boatload of crap. We have been treated as an afterthought. This plan lacks transparency, common courtesy, and respect for all stakeholders. And to be clear, when you say you haven't gotten feedback, that's because they've been excluded from the meetings. You can't get feedback from all stakeholders if you exclude them from the meetings. That is a slap in the face. And to say that here in the public is absolutely ridiculous. If you're getting your feedback from the safety meetings, that doesn't include all the stakeholders. That is a small segment of people at the district. So what has happened here lacks the transparency, lacks the communication, lacks the teamwork and working together that this district has always stood for. So either this is a direct change in how we're going to do business, or things are going to change real quick and we're going to get back to doing business as a team in communicating. But right now, that is not what's happening. And everything that was presented here is a complete slap in the face to the stakeholders, to my unit that has shown up every day through this entire pandemic and not been able to work from home. A complete slap in the face. And we are really pissed off, and this needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Sam Chung.
All right.
Hi. Okay.
Sam, you've
So-
already addressed us on this issue, haven't you?
No, I've got more to say, actually. There's been a lot
All
of
right. Well, you know
stuff.
what? You have to
And-
limit your remarks, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. This just regards to the paper that was put out in the plan. And some instances are said, with approval by the SMCCD EOC, is quoted under the decision framework, and obviously they don't prove it. They recommend these policies to the policy group, and then the policy group approves it. So I hope, I think this is kind of a semantic issue, but I think it's important that if you're gonna have some document that's gonna, that document that's going to say what's going to happen, that you know that's going to happen, and these issues, you know, who is ultimately responsible, you know, who makes the decisions, who make the recommendations, and as the previous person said, you know, there needs to be sort of, you know, clarification to ensure that there is an equitable and transparent process that's going on. Obviously,
All right.
seems to be
Thank
some
you,
sort of
Sam.
cultural thing, and I will say I want to have my 3 minutes. Sorry, trustee Harris. You know, I mean, this plan so far it says, you know, we're going to have services in the fall, and then we're going to completely open in spring 2022. It seems like stop and go. You know, it's easing. It doesn't really seem like the thing that's going on here. You know, maybe there should be some contingencies. Like Trustee Pimentel said, instead of being feet of foot. You know, like say, what if the threshold infection rates, you know, reach a point where you know that would facilitate full or you know full or partial reopening. You know, in the fall maybe, or what if you know there was you know there's a correlation to how many students are actually vaccinated, and actually you know saying why don't you get vaccinated right now instead of in the spring? Wouldn't that be sort of a better policy decision? I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
and then you know and then sort of you know what about taking into account overall community infection rates and having milestones for openings? I mean, that seems like, you know, and the fact that, you know, there are no classes, but basketball is there, people not wearing masks, athletes can be vaccinated and on campus, but students are not encouraged to be vaccinated until January. I mean, I don't understand it. It's strange.
Thank you. Next speaker.
President, your next speaker is Ariel Smith.
Hello.
Hi there. Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Dr. Ariel Smith. I wear several hats in the district, and I'll be wearing multiple of them tonight. I am a faculty member, counselor, and the CSM Academic Senate president. And I've prepared some comments. So while many faculty that I've spoken to are looking forward to returning to campus and returning to our students, there's an overwhelming desire to make sure that we are able to do so safely and with sufficient time to plan. Broadly, and you've heard some of these concerns, faculty at CSM are concerned about our ventilation systems overall. Many of our buildings are decades old, and we already have existing issues with ventilation and temperature that have not been addressed. Fall is also when we expect to have wildfires and subsequently be impacted by air quality. And by all accounts, this fall is slated to be as bad or worse than last year, which will inevitably have an impact on our employees and our students, and is a consideration in any transition planning for the coming year. Ensuring that we have a plan that takes into account the issues around both the continued pandemic and air quality issues, so as not to disrupt service delivery to students, is necessary. In counseling at CSM, our offices do not have windows or controlled ventilation systems. They are not equipped with enough space to allow for sufficient social distancing when meeting individually with students. And we have multiple offices where counselors use cubicles that have partitions that don't even reach all the way to the ceiling, meaning that there are multiple counselors and students in the same room at the same time. As one of my colleagues earnestly requests, please put yourself in our shoes. Are you comfortable meeting in small enclosed indoor spaces without access to ventilation, with individuals of unknown vaccination status for up to an hour at a time? And what if you had to go back home to small children or family members who are not able to be vaccinated for medical reasons, as many of us do? There's still much that's unknown about the virus and the vaccines that needs to be taken into consideration as we move and plan. We strongly feel that vaccination requirements for students and employees is essential to be able to provide services effectively and safely, and necessary for us to meet with students in person. We do have some specific concerns. Given that our campus spaces are open to the public, what kinds of measures are you proposing to ensure all of our safety? If vaccinations are required of students, at what point does that happen, and how is it being enforced? We meet with students who have not yet signed up for classes and so are not yet officially students. This is a concern of many in student service areas. We have received no assurances of health and safety measures to ensure that both faculty and students will be vaccinated to be able to be on campus, nor of any measures to ensure that we will have access to sufficient ventilation or portable air filters. And I understand that that's what a lot of the conversation is tonight, but until decisions around that get made and we're included in the conversation, these continue to be concerns of ours. We understand that there are implications for our students of the timing and requirements needed for opening campus back up. But as we saw, they also have concerns over their safety and the safety of the campus that must be addressed thoughtfully and thoroughly to be able to adequately continue to provide services and instruction. We know that many of our students have not returned due to personal circumstances related to the pandemic. We cannot equate opening up campus with an increase in enrollment if we're not doing so with sufficient planning and preparation. As a faculty member in the district, a counselor who works directly with students every day, and CSM Academic Senate President, I've appreciated the board's early decision in February to keep instruction and most services remote in fall. We've been able to plan with sufficient time for service delivery to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our students in this way and not disrupting their experience. We hope that not only do you hear the concerns of the folks who are actually doing the work with students on our campuses and of the students themselves, but you listen and place the health and safety of students and employees first. We look forward to collaborating with you in the district in the transition planning so that we're able to continue to meet health, safety, and educational needs of our students and colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor Bailey.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Catherine Haar.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi, I was just waiting to be visible.
Go right
Good
ahead.
evening. So I'm Catherine Haar. Some of you know me. I'm the co-vice president of the Faculty Union, as well as an English faculty member at Skyline since 1978. I don't usually admit that, but what happened? I want to share some of the many concerns that AFT has heard from faculty members who've read and heard scattered bits of information about the reopening of our campuses, and who are confused and frustrated because so far they haven't been consulted in meaningful ways. First of all, the standing health, safety, and emergency preparedness committees haven't promoted substantive employee input into the planning for this reopening. At Skyline, for example, the committee has only met one time in 14 months. And the chairs of the committee have stated that they're not going to meet again until September. At Kenyatta and CSM, the safety committees don't have any faculty on them. And no employees, as far as we know, have been invited to join the EOC to be part of the conversation. Also at Skyline, the safety committee did not share the feedback from the surveys and think tanks with the committee members. And the goal of those surveys and think tanks is to collect and disseminate information. So that's not a collaborative process in a committee that includes all the stakeholders. As somebody else said, the people who are on the ground doing the work with students, they're not getting the information and they're not asked for their responses. And as you have heard and will continue to hear tonight, our faculty are very, very concerned about items like ventilation filters and airflow, not just in classrooms, but in offices and other shared spaces. Enforcement of proper social distancing in our classrooms, the use of masks when we're teaching, and the related issue of, will they be able to hear us? Do we all need microphones? Maybe we do. And then there's the question of who will enforce these safety protocols. Faculty don't want to be policemen and women. That's not our job. So there are a lot of issues, and really why I came to talk to you tonight is because faculty wants to be part of the conversation, as Ariel said. We don't want to be told what we're going to be doing. We don't want to be given a report that will written without our input. We want to be there from the get-go. So we do appreciate the fact that we have the opportunity tonight to talk about this. And we know that these aren't minor issues, they're life and death issues. And if we're going to be a community that works together for the common good, then we need to involve everybody in the decision-making process. And the Campus Health, Safety, and Emergency Preparedness Committee should be meeting regularly, getting input from all the stakeholders and making decisions based on all the input that they get. So thank you for listening. And I do appreciate everything that you've done, especially around getting our contract this time around. And so let's work together on this instead of coming in, kind of late and confused and just getting little bits of information here and there. Please let faculty and other employees.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Rosemary Bell.
Oh my gosh.
Good evening. I'm going to shut this light out. Oh my goodness. Ariel and Catherine are very difficult act to follow. I've kind of thrown my script away. I've been at Skyline for 31 years, 31 of some of the best years of my life. And the reason they are the best is because Skyline was a very big part of that, especially my students and my colleagues and the campus community that we built. I read the opinion piece yesterday in the San Mateo Journal. And Trustee Pimentel mentioned circumstances have changed. He wants a detailed plan to see us how we're going to get back to campus in the fall. Trustee Goodman also was mentioned in the article. He suggested more of a phased-in plan that makes sense, and I agree. The situation has changed. But one thing we know about this pandemic, it can change on a dime. We're sitting here right now in May, trying to determine what's going to look like in 2 months. We don't know. And frankly, I am really discouraged and disappointed in the fact that we do not have a plan. You may think you have a plan. I'm not sure we have a plan. And a reopening plan would include, as Catherine and Ariel said, input from faculty. We are in the trenches. We are in the front lines. Faculty and staff every day. We love it there. That's why we're there. But answers like, well, we don't know yet. Or answers like, well, it depends on such and such. We didn't even see the EOC. But how come Ms. Carson had a copy? She knew the document she was talking about. How come we didn't know? That's a little disturbing to me. I'm advocating for basically a few things, mostly two of my major concerns. One is, I agree, the air filtration systems on campus, particularly building 1 at Skyline, which is on its last legs, is falling apart, frankly. I don't know what they've done over the past year. I want to see some verification that they fixed the air filter systems. That's number one. Number two, I am also advocating for specific guidelines regarding how you're going to administer and respond to those who either A, do not follow the mandate, do not follow the recommendations, do not follow the requirements. This came from a well-meaning health and safety committee member at Skyline College, and I quote, We can't be responsible for bad actors if they fake their vaccine record to return to school. I do not want to become the pandemic police on campus, and I do not think that faculty or staff should play that role. Besides the air filtration system, I certainly would hope that you include faculty and staff in your decision-making from now on. And being online with my students, all my Zoom classes, I've had some of the best classes in my 31 years of teaching. The students have been magnificent, and I'm very blessed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker.
President, your next speaker is Jessica Triglio.
There I am.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening, Board of Trustees, administration, faculty, staff, and students. My name is Jessica Trulio, and I'm the Learning Disability Specialist and Disability Counselor at Skyline College, where I've been lucky enough to work since 2017 and am recently tenured. I love my job, I love my students, and I love the amazing people I get to call peers. I also miss seeing all of you on a daily basis, and I miss seeing the smiling faces of my students. There are many things that I appreciate about working in this district. This past year has brought new reasons to be thankful. I believe that our district has done an amazing job supporting faculty, staff, and students through this pandemic. The district has kept the physical and emotional health of our campus communities as a priority. It's been reassuring to know that all the processes have been thoughtfully planned and orchestrated with safety in mind. This has been felt greatly and appreciated, especially with all the unsettled times we're in. Those feelings of support and appreciation were challenged when I read the article in the Daily Journal describing a need to reopen the campus earlier than planned. Although I do agree that returning to face-to-face operation needs to happen as soon as possible, I do not believe that this decision should be made without the same thoughtful consideration that has been given thus far. Faculty and staff have voiced their opinions, and we are not comfortable returning prior to January 2020 when students are also required to be vaccinated. As a counselor who works one-on-one with students in a very small office with no window and poor ventilation, I do believe that it is in my best interest. It is not in my best interest, nor the interest of my students, to be in that environment when I can provide the same support remotely until such time that vaccines are mandated. I do not believe that we have proper ventilation or spaces to safely social distance and still provide counseling support. There's no need to expose any of us to that risk. For faculty and staff with small children, there are even more factors to consider. Throughout the pandemic, the greatest surges of COVID-19 outbreaks have been with adults 19 to 39. These are our students. Thankfully, serious illness rates are lower among that group, but transmission rates are greater. Many of our students also take public transportation in order to get to campus, so we are asking them to put themselves at a risk in order to get to us. As has been mentioned, other campuses that are returning are also requiring vaccines for faculty, staff, and students. I know that there are many considerations to this decision, but I believe that we need to take the time to work through those considerations before we can even imagine safely returning to campus. Again, I appreciate your time, and I thank the board and the trustees for all that they've done to get us to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Jenna French.
Hello, Jenna.
Hi. Good evening, Board of Trustees, as well as faculty, staff, and students also in attendance tonight. My name is Jenna French, and I'm the Learning Disability Specialist, DRC Counselor, a 10-year faculty member at Kenyatta College. I've been with this district 2015. I have a great job, the best students, and coworkers. I want the campus to be safe. I will be addressing the topic of return to campus in fall 2021 for employees and students, as well as a plan for mandatory vaccinations. An article in the Daily Journal came out yesterday suggesting that the Board of Trustees will be discussing the possibility of encouraging more students and employees back to campus in the fall. I do not think the board should consider changing the plan made in February to make more student services on campus until faculty counselors can help plan with administration. Since February, the district has been planning for most campuses to return to remote, including academic counseling. Faculty members only have 2 weeks left of the semester, and many of them will be off for summer break. There's no time to plan for change and to prep for fall return to campus with our administration. I appreciate the Board of Trustees made their decision in February and listened to the survey results from faculty and staff to stay remote for the fall 2021. However, if the Board of Trustees changes this plan, there's not time for faculty to prep for this. Regarding student services and counseling, we will have no division meetings over the summer to plan with our deans. We need time to review topics such as discuss and order necessary items for counselors to safely work in person, evaluate the ventilation and airflow in offices, configuration of social distancing in offices, and the mask requirement policies. Many of the counseling offices are small at Kenyatta College and do not have windows. Counselors meet with up to 10 students a day in a small room where they cannot be 6 feet apart. We deserve the chance to plan with our administration. I'm suggesting that we use fall 2021 to work together and plan for the best possibility to return. Our students deserve the best services. I'm concerned if we rush to make a plan to return to campus in fall 2021, it will not be best for students. As a fellow counselor said to me, what needs to be considered is that as of now, kids are not vaccinated. And I think a lot of parents don't feel out of the woods just yet. I don't want to be indoors in an office every day, possibly getting exposed, and kids are vaccinated. I strongly feel the vaccination requirements for students and employees is essential to being able to provide services effectively and safely. Please consider not returning counseling to in-person fall 2021 until we have a plan to prepare with counselors and administration. Thank you for considering our health and safety, as well as what's best for employee and students. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is?
Mr. President, your last speaker is Rosemary Bell.
She spoke already.
You already spoke, yes.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else, Vice Chancellor?
You have Annette Perot.
Good evening
I do
again.
think there's some mistake. You already heard my spiel.
All right, Annette has already spoken. Thank you, Annette.
No, that was not me speaking.
too.
That was Rosemary, I think said
Oh.
that.
Oh, okay. I just heard a voice.
We
I saw
both
your
started
lips
talking at the
moving.
same time.
Are you going to speak to us right now?
Rosemary, are you talking to speak first?
Rosemary's out.
Okay, so
You're
I'm going to
next.
speak.
All
Okay.
right, you're up. Your time is going. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Annette Perot. I'm the CSGA Chapter 33 President. And although some classified staff are comfortable coming back now, some are not. This should be taken into consideration. And of those staff that may be comfortable coming back, they do have concerns about safety measures like barriers, floor markers in the open area. So we do need to take that into consideration on when people are being asked to come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor Bailey, any further speakers?
Mr. President, I think that's it.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes then the public comment on this particular item.
So I just want to address a few things that have come up. First, I do want to say that I appreciate my my colleagues coming out tonight to speak to the board and to share their thoughts on the recovery plan. I also do appreciate the parents that came out to speak about their incoming students, which is nice of them. But I also want to remind the board that our students have spoken, and you know, as Vice Chancellor McVean, expressed, most of our students are still uncomfortable coming back to campus in the fall. And a couple of times came up that faculty are not involved in the process. And I have been involved at the EOC for the last few months. We also have recently appointed 2 more members of the District Academic Senate to the EOC. So we are involved in that process, and I can assure you that I have taken our deliberations back to both the District Senate and to the District Senate's Committee on Teaching and Learning to get their feedback on things like vaccination mandates, when we should open campuses, how much we should open campuses. So the faculty voice is in the room. And you've heard a couple of times folks saying that faculty are not comfortable coming back into classrooms with unvaccinated students. That's true, right? A lot of my colleagues have expressed concern about being in one of our small classrooms with poor ventilation with students who might not be vaccinated. And I think the knee-jerk reaction then is to try to require student vaccines in the fall. All right, but I think we also need to recognize that many of our students, especially our marginalized students, students of color, are not quite ready for the vaccine. For almost my entire career at CSM, I have taught in the Umoja community. Umoja community serves about 1/3 of all the Black students at CSM. And I can tell you in my conversations with our students that a good number of them are reticent to get the vaccine. Right. And but I can also tell you that the Umoja community, we have been working with our students, and we're trying to help them understand the vaccine a little bit better. Ray Hernandez came and chatted with a group of our Umoja students. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? And by the end of the conversation, our students were like, "Oh, I think I feel more comfortable about this now." All right. But we need that time to educate our students. Right. Our students trust us. And I think that in the fall, if we can educate our students, provide the vaccines on site for them, I feel like more and more of our students are more likely to get vaccinated. And the last thing I'll just say is that, the EOC, I just want, I don't know, Mike probably won't say this, but I'll go ahead and say it. The EOC, is in a shared governance, kind of phase at this point. And it's not a bargaining space, right? And so the unions, unfortunately, are not members of the shared governance framework. And so I just want to ensure that, the EOC remains a place where we're not collectively bargaining, but we are actually, sharing in that governance, participating in that governance. District Academic Senate, myself, David Eck, and Kate Brown are the representatives of the faculty on the EOC. I think that's all I want to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Trustee Holliver.
Okay. Well, this has been a very thorough discussion. There were many excellent points made, from various points of view, and there's a lot here to ponder. And I do want to really recognize the tremendous work that our faculty and staff has done. The report we received that opened this is just evidence of the work they've done. People who are trained as educators and as classified employees to deliver education and support services, being thrust into a very new role because of the pandemic that hit us, and really rising to the occasion, making lots of very tough decisions and putting tremendous amount of time into that. It's just really, really phenomenal work, and I want to acknowledge that great work. I also, we're not here really for the purpose of having staff, in my opinion, respond to specific criticisms, let's call them criticisms about exclusion or inclusion in discussions. But, those are points I heard. I think those are points that need to be given very serious consideration going forward. And the more people feel that they are participants, I think, the more they'll be able to be comfortable with the decisions that are made. So it's a good practice in general. I recognize that things are changing. They're changing all the time, but they've certainly changed since our February decision very strongly in California in the direction of reopening in general, and reopening education and higher education in particular. And I think we have to remain flexible and look at those changes. And, we all say we're here for our students. We are first and last for our students. We also speak of our commitment to diversity and equity and inclusion. And that is a commitment that we all take to heart. When you look at the impacts of the pandemic in the community college system in California, statewide, it's a significant drop in enrollment. Let's call it the number of students, the number of courses that are being taken total. Not necessarily head count, but what is the amount of higher education being delivered to students in the community college system statewide? It's down significantly. It's down much more significantly among, in particular, Black and Latin students. And the data that we were presented tonight, low income enrollment down 23%. Now we serve everyone, but we know that we disproportionately are there to serve students who are needing community college services because other higher education opportunities are financially or for other reasons out of reach. So when we see these kinds of numerical declines, I'm very concerned that the students who need us the most are the ones that are being excluded because of just this very difficult remote learning environment, out of proportion to other students. So clearly there's work that's got to be done soon, I think, to address some of these issues that were raised, very important issues around ventilation, air filtration, things like that. Those are very key issues that need to be addressed. I'll just summarize my point of view, which is that I genuinely believe we should be opening a lot more classes in the fall than the numbers that I think we accepted in February and we are viewing tonight. The state of California is in a mode of reopening. We need to be keeping pace with that mode. We need to be offering much more access to in-person instruction than is in the current plan. And I don't know if other trustees agree, but I believe we need to revisit and significantly up the in-person course offerings for the fall semester. Thank you.